Hi, welcome to the newest edition of Legal Quilts. I said it's probably going to be something quick because the coronation was yesterday. I had a lot going on yesterday. Coronation, 5 a.m. Spent 6 hours on a Lions project, service project, so I'm tired. So this is going to be a quick one. But what we're going to do today is make a nice wall hanging of the official emblem of the coronation. It's coronation weekend. Wanted to do something quick, wanted to do something coronation related. It all came together. This is going to be a really simple block. And you're going to start with the emblem, which I'll put that in the show notes where you can download this for free. They have lots of options. It is, they have it in different colors, various sizes. It's in Welsh if you want it. Print it on fabric paper. Did an episode of that a while ago, so you can see that, okay? And then cut it to the size you want. I'm doing 8.5 by 8.5, so it'll finish 8 inch in the middle, okay? And then what you need is, I'm doing this in 2 colors, red and blue, well, 3 colors. We'll get back to that in a second. You know, it's the red and blue here, and then the white, okay? I'm going to do this in 3 colors, but first you'll need one width of fabric, so the 42 inches across, 2.5 inch strip of the blue and the red, just one of those. You're going to need 2 4.5 inch squares in the red and the blue, 2 of each, all right? And then the white, I told you there was 3 colors. This is the border. And these are 1.5 inch strips because you want a narrow border, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm just going to put that aside because we're not going to do anything with that right now. Shoot. Okay, I had something set out and now it disappeared. First step we're going to do, first step is obviously printing your thing. And like I said, just print this on fabric paper. I did one on how to print on fabric paper a little while ago. That's where that went. Excuse me a moment. I dropped my chalk. Okay. The corner pieces, you saw the picture at the beginning. I used that as the thumbnail. So you're going to have your fabrics here, your squares. We're going to start with the half square triangles. You take your fabrics and lay them right sides together. Now I'm using solids because I didn't want anything really busy, because this is really, really busy. It's got, you know, the thistle and the shamrock and the rose and the daffodil. That would be Scotland, Ireland, England, and Wales. So this is all very busy, and I didn't want anything that would add to the busyness of the quilt, of the wall hanging, but would actually complement it. And that's why I'm going with the red and the blue, although the reds are a little off and the blue is a little more purpley. It's a purple blue, but purple works for this, okay? So you're going to take these right sides together, and because it's solid, I have no idea which way is the right side together. The blue is easier because it's really a blender, and so it's got some shading in it, and you put them right sides together. I forgot to bring my pins over. All right, and what you do is turn it on point to make this easier. Make sure it's all flat and your corners match up, all right? Then you're going to draw a line, and we're going to do this on both of them. Okay, you're going to draw a line from corner to corner, and you're going to do that on both of them. It's very simple. Okay, if you see me looking over, I'm just making sure it's still recording. All right, so if you see me looking over, I'm just making sure it keeps recording because it does like to kick off, okay? So you just draw a line on both of them. Okay, and I'm using yellow chalk on this because I usually use disappearing ink, and that's purple, and I don't want, and with these darker colors, I'm just worried it's not going to show. So the yellow chalk kind of shows. Then once you've drawn the line, you just take your 2 pieces and center your line, and then sew a 1/4 of an inch, just your 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. Since you're doing 2 of these, keep your line centered. Keep your line centered. And you can do 2 of these. You can just chain piece them. Just slide the next one in. And keep your line centered. Right down the middle of your foot there. I'll do that. I'll show you a little better on the next round. Okay. And then, get a little close there. You flip it around and you do it again. A 1/4 an inch on the other side. So again, you center your line right there on the center of your foot. Okay. And you just pray it doesn't act up. Oops. And again, you just slide the next one in, keeping your line centered. And then, when you're all done, you snip them apart again. I know I buckled that up a little bit. You just take your rotary cutter and you cut down the center of that line. Don't cut your stitching, which is what I'm about to do here. Don't cut your stitching. And you cut both of them. I'll be honest, I'm not real good with half square triangles. They're not my favorite thing. But there you go. You've got 4 triangles of the red and the blue. Put them so that your blue is off to your left. Put them so your blue is off to the left. Okay, so you got all 4 of them. And your blue is off to the left. Set those aside. We'll come back to those in a second. And you set this piece aside. Now you're going to take your strips, your 2.5 inch wide strips, and you're just going to sew them together lengthwise. Okay? Like I said, this is going to be a really easy project. Just sew them together lengthwise using your 1/4 inch seam allowance. Sew it down. Sew. Why did that happen? Okay. And just sew it down. It's long because it's the width of the fabric. So just keep sewing it down, or the length of the fabric, I'm sorry, not the width. Just keep sewing it all the way down. This is actually a little more than I'll need for the project, but I didn't want to cut the strips down, and you'll see what we do next. All right, so you sew them all together. And what you have is a strip that's now blue and red, all right? And before you open it up, because it goes easier if you're only working with the half of it, you're gonna cut this the same length as the sides of your quilt. You're gonna of your centerpiece. So that's 8.5. So we're gonna cut 4 8.5-inch strips. Sorry, you're gonna subcut this first. Make sure the end is straight. So you're gonna kind of do that really quick. Okay. And then just with your ruler and your rotary cutter, you're gonna do 8.5 inches. And you're probably going, but wait a minute, Legal Quilts. When you add that in, it's not going to be 8.5 on 2 sides. Watch and see. So but you're gonna cut 4 of the same length as the sides. 8.5. Where's my 8.5? There we go. I have trouble sometimes with that. Just cut 4 of them. Okay. And you can open it out. It just goes a little easier if you're dealing with them on top of each other. Make sure I cut that one right. I feel like I didn't. Yep. Okay. And like I said, you're going to have a little left over that's already of your strip, but that's okay. So there's 8.5 left over. And you're going to open them out. And again, lay them so that your blue is to your left. And there's a reason for this. And that's because you want to make sure everything goes right and you don't sew your pieces together. On this, we're going to put the red on the inside and the blue on the outside, but you're free to do it the other way if you want. Just remember which way you're doing it so they all do that. Then we're going to take our piece and you're going to take 2 of these strips, of the double-sided strips, and you're going to lay them along the top edge. You're going to take 1, and lay it along the top edge. We're going to do the top and the bottom first. That's why you need 2. So you're going to lay the first one along the top edge. Okay, with the red on the inside. So you're showing the red to the center block. And you're just going to sew that with a 1/4-inch seam allowance. When I made the center block, I printed it on a full sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11, and then I cut the top and bottom down to 8.5, so that the whole thing was 8.5, so I had to cut evenly. All right, and then you take your bottom piece, and then you flip it over and you go to your bottom and you do the same thing. Red on the inside. Again, you can do it with the blue on the inside. I asked a friend, she said, she thought, I showed her examples of both, and she said red on the inside. So that's what I'm going with, because I couldn't decide. Just sew that on there. All right, so you've got your top and bottom done. Okay, and then you're going to set that aside, and you're going to take your last 2 pieces in your half square triangles. And if I did this right, you're going to have, remember I said your blue goes to the left, your red. Okay, so you're going to take your red, holding it tight, and put it to the corner on the red, see? So it's red to red. And that's your red edge is really going to be mostly the edge you're sewing there. Okay? Good, I finally got my half square triangles right. And lay your you can iron your seam there on your half square triangles. I'm turning it inward because it will make that a little flatter the way we're sewing, and it won't stick out if you do it the other way. So you do want to iron it inward towards the red, okay? And you just sew that, sew one to each end, okay? I could have done that as a chain piecing. You can do that chain piecing if you want. I'm just worried about not getting them facing the right way, so I do them singularly. Then you do the same thing, except because you flipped it around, because you're going to do one on the top and the bottom. Again, still red. The big red, the red triangle goes to the red point here. So when you flip it over, so when you finish sewing, your blue is still on the outside. So just remember that. Inside color triangle to inside triangle to inside color. And same thing. You just want to, oops, this one's a little small. So I'm going to adjust a little bit here. I knew it. Some of those didn't quite, two of them didn't quite sew right, but it'll be okay. Told you half square triangles were not my friend. Okay, so you've got a column like this that looks like this now, okay? And you do the same thing with the other side. Red to red, and do the other one here. Red to red. Flipping that over, red to red. Red to red. Okay. And sew it down. And I pressed that in the wrong way. Okay, and then same thing, red to red. Yeah, okay. I talk to myself a lot when I sew. Okay, and you do the other one. So now you've got two columns. You've got two columns, and I'm calling them columns because they go on the side, up and down. All right, so you've got two columns, and you want the blue on the outside. So there you go. And then you just take your piece, except, yes, you take this, and you match your top corner there to your top corner here, and then you match down here, and it should match. Okay, and you know what I always say, smaller piece on top so that you're not pulling your fabric. Okay, make sure your corners are matched here. Okay, match your corners, match your seams so that this, your half square triangle block should match the bottom here of your quilt, of the top or bottom piece where you're sewing here. It should match where the red meets the center block. And you just sew that on with, again, your quarter-inch seam allowance. today too. Okay, and you want it to match at the top too. Make sure you're on here. And flip it over and do the other side. Again, make sure your blue, all right, again, matching corner to corner, making sure your blue is out, matching that your piece matches right there where the fabric meets the centerpiece, where your strips meet the centerpiece. You want nice smooth lines here, okay? And you just sew that one down. Again, matching up, because you want nice smooth lines here. And voila. There's your piece. Guess what? It's a churn dash. Literally. That's all I did was I took a churn dash block and made it bigger. Instead of the blank, solid piece of fabric in the middle, I used a printed piece of fabric. That's all this is a giant churn dash block. But it was nice and simple, and I think it adds something to it. Now we're gonna add the border, okay? And the border, I'm using this white. It's a tone on tone. It has stars in it. I know there's no stars in the United Kingdom's flag, but I decided to be a cheeky colonial and stick some stars on there. Ex-colonial, otherwise known as we kicked you out for a reason. So I'm just gonna smooth that end out. All right, we know how to put, now when you're doing borders, you don't want your border to overwhelm, all right? You don't want your border to overwhelm your block, to overwhelm your wall hanging, your quilt. Your border should frame it, should tie it all together. It really shouldn't be the focus unless that's your plan. But in this case, we want the focus to be the Coronation Emblem. So we didn't want something large. That's why this is only 1.5 inch. So when it gets sewn, it'll be 1 inch. And that's why we wanted something, and I did a tone on tone. White kind of goes in with then the white and the emblem in the background, but so it ties it together. Well, what I like to say is containing it. It's the frame, all right? Now we know how to do this. I did that whole episode on borders. We can do this with this ruler. All right, you measure it. Measure your half. Okay, from the halfway point, this should be, oh, that's interesting, 8 inches. Yep, so it's 8 inches. So you're gonna cut 2 8-inch pieces for the top and bottom. Let's see, 8 inches. Okay. I could probably have done this with 1 strip, but I want to make sure I had enough, so I cut 2 strips, just to be on the safe side. So I cut 2 of those. No, that can't be right. That's what's, okay, I was wrong. It's not 8 inches, it's 16 inches. If the midpoint is double that, so I wanted 16 inches. That's why I cut 2. Darn it. All right, so I need 16 inches. This is gonna be a little harder to cut because I don't have my, okay, 36. So that'd be 6 and 10 from there, 20. Gotta put it on the 20 line. I'm working from the other end, and so that's going to be very confusing, and I don't think I'm going to have enough. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is not do the border, because I think I messed up. All right. I don't think I'm going to have enough to do the lengthwise one. All right, but we'll just do this. We know where I messed up. All right. So you're going to sew your border on there, and then you quilt it, and you're finished. Okay? I'm going to set that aside. Now, I said that, so we're not going to do the border because I messed up already. I hate when I do that. So this is it. Like I said, it's a churn dash block. You can do this for any block size. I did this one. I didn't do my half square triangles right. That's why it's not finished. But you can do it for any panel, any piece. You could even do a whole quilt this way. If like you had some of those small panel blocks that you're not sure what to do with, you can frame them with this. Don't put the border on it, because then whatever you do for your side pieces, these half square triangles will meet where the blocks do and create a nice secondary pattern. So this is a great simple way. Just if you're making a churn dash block, replace the solid piece in the middle with a printed pattern, with a panel, a small panel, whatever. I'm going to put the directions here in the show notes, not only where to print this, but how to do this. Like I said, though, it's a churn dash block, but it's very simple. Your strip pieces, you can figure out how wide you want them. They don't have to be 2.5 inch. Decide how wide you want your pieces to be. Okay, your strips to be. They're always the length of your center block. So if you got a 10-inch center block, you cut them 10 inches. If you've got a 12-inch center block, you cut them 12. Okay, not the finished size, the size you're working with. So you're probably working with 10.5 inches and 12.5 inches. Okay, but you can do it any size. Then your half square triangles are the width of your block, of your strips. So if the width, not the length, the width, because that will fill in the blank space, okay, that's left. That's why you cut these 4 the same, and then this takes care of the additional width that you've added. So say you cut these 3 inches wide and you've got 6 inches here now. You wound up with you cut them 3.5 inches wide, you wound up with 6 inches here. Finished. This would be a 6-inch half square triangle. And to cut half square triangles, your cutting is 1/2 inch larger than the finished block. So if you're working with 6 inches, you want to finish one 6 inches, you cut them 6.5 inches. That is it. It's the length of the sides of your block, and these are the width of your your sewn together 2 pieces. That's it. That's how simple this is and what a great project it is. I will put the border on this and you'll get to see the fine, so if you saw the thumbnail, it has the border on it. I need to cut more. So that's it for this issue of for this edition of Legal Quilts. Next time we are going to be quilting the double Irish chain, and that's exciting because we're up to that step. And then right after that, we're going to have like 3 episodes in a row, because usually I go every other weekend. But I wanted to do Memorial Day weekend to kick off Scrap Summer. And I've got so many wonderful things coming for Scrap Summer that's going to be so great. So I'm going to you'll see the QR code at the end, but I'm also going to put the links in there to It's Coronation weekend. Buy me a cup of tea. You cannot get more British than that. Buy me a cup of tea to help support continuing to do these projects, and hopefully, and watching me make mistakes on TV, on video. You can buy the completed things from my website, and like, comment, subscribe. Subscribers really help. Please comment, like, share it with all your friends. The more people who see it, the better. And until next time, have fun. Quilting should be fun, and there are no quilt police.